Hey there, are you grieving the potential loss of a loved one or feeling overwhelmed with the loss of someone you care about? If so, you're in the right place. Lisa Hartung here, and this podcast is designed to guide you through topics surrounding death and dying. We'll dive into multifaceted aspects of grief, offering you a blend of personal stories, expert insights, and practical advice for your grief journey. May this be a safe space for you to learn, listen, and ask questions about your own life and loved ones. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Giving Grief Grace. For those of you who are Christian, happy Easter. This episode is coming out on Easter Sunday, and I am a Christian, and it's a special time of year where we celebrate that Christ has risen, and we say he is risen indeed once the sun pops over the mountaintop. And so I wanted to share a little bit with our listeners of a story. I took a memoir writing class a couple weeks ago, and I've been thinking a lot of how we have these really special memories that keep us and our loved ones alive and keep our memories of them fresh. And so I wanted to share with you, and I think I've talked about this in the past, but growing up, my mom and I would attend church together, and my dad wasn't really so into it, and my sister was 6.5 years older than me, so she either came or was doing homework or things like that. So Mom and I would go, and one special thing that we did every Easter, we would wake up at the crack of dawn to go to the sunrise service on Easter morning. We're in a small town, and so we would drive to the highest hill in our town. A bunch of other people would be there, and we'd have kind of a community ecumenical service. We had a local bagpiper, and so he would play. Someone would play taps on the trumpet. We would all just be together and all bundled up because this is, spring in Maine, which is usually pretty cold. We would just be in community and celebrate life and light. We would start singing, and the service would start before the sun crested over the mountains. And then as soon as that sun popped over the mountaintop, we would sing the song, Christ the Lord is risen today. And that was just a song that Mom and I loved singing at the top of our lungs. And, this is 6:30 in the morning. No one's wearing any makeup. We're all in our PJs and out here on a mountainside, just enjoying each other's company and the beauty of life in these simple moments. And, I struggle every spring, and I think about my mom. And when Easter comes around, I continue to go to sunrise service. And I even remember if I wasn't at home and I couldn't go to sunrise service with her, then I would still call and she would put me on speakerphone, and I at least could sing along with the songs and feel like I was there with her. And so I like to think that she is with me now every sunrise service. And the song, Christ the Lord is risen today, which I believe is the 1739 version by Charles Wesley, one of the lines is fought the fight, the battle won. Alleluia. And it's all about how Christ had passed away, and then, love's redeeming work is done, and then he rises again, and he, opens the gates to paradise. And I remember the first year after my mom passed, my best friend happened to be in town over Easter, and she's like, let's go. She had a newborn baby. And she was like, that's okay, Lisa. Like, I'm going to bring the baby and we're going to go to sunrise service together. The sunrise service in North Carolina
or one of them is at the Duke Gardens, which is somewhere that my mom and I used to go to all the time when she came to visit. And it's such a beautiful oasis. The first year after her passing, it was like pouring down rain. So my girlfriend met me at the Duke Chapel, which is just, it's incredible. If you're ever in Durham, North Carolina, you should definitely check out the Duke Chapel. It's stunning. This isn't my small town sunrise service at the side of a mountain. This is, a formal, you're in the cathedral, you dress up, you put on your makeup or whatever, and you show up at the 6:30 a.m. service. So I'd gotten ready. I went and she had her little baby with her, and we're singing this song, and I'm, channeling my mom, and I felt her presence. But when we got to the line, fought the fight, the battle won, I thought, did mom win the battle? Like, is is that what you is that what you win when you die? Because it was a terrible battle. She really suffered. And I've just been grappling with that a lot. And I don't know why I'm so emotional today, but it's just every sunrise service I think of her, and so that first year my best friend was there, and I just crumpled during that part of the song, and I was like, she didn't win. She lost. Like she passed. She didn't resurrect like Jesus did. And she has in so many other ways, but you just want your mom to hug and to be there and to help you raise your kids. And my girlfriend just gave me the biggest bear hugs. And for people that know her, she's a hugger, and I'm not a hugger. I'm like, don't touch me. But she just enveloped me in a hug with her little baby who she was wearing, and it was just such a really sweet moment. And I think about how when you are grieving, it's so nice to have people that you love just be present and just be there, and you can cry and hug, and you don't have to say any words. They understand. And so I was just so grateful. And she's lived abroad for a number of years, so I rarely see her in real life, but we video chat back and forth. And so I was messaging her of how, it meant the world for me for her to be there that first sunrise service. And then the second sunrise service, it wasn't raining, and another best friend from college was visiting with her child, and we went to the sunrise service in Dew Gardens, and it was absolutely stunning. It was more of a joyful occasion, and it was fun to show her through Duke Gardens and all of the places that my mom and I loved to go and see. So that was super fun. And then I can't even remember what we did last year. One thing that my mom always did on Easter was she would have these little like high-end jelly beans, like fancy jelly beans that she used to sell at her store. And so she would say that the Easter bunny put them all around the house. And I got a little quiet because my office is right next to my daughter's, and I don't know if she's asleep or not, or if she can hear me. I don't want to spoil the Easter bunny. So she would put these little jelly beans out for my sister and I to collect on Easter morning. And so that's something that I now do with my children. And I'm super excited about that. So I definitely know that we had one of those last year. And it was just fun to see her get excited about all of the jelly beans. But now this year, she's 4.5, and I asked her, I said, mommy gets up really early before the sun rises, and we pack a thermos of hot chocolate, and we're going to go in the garden and sing and watch the sunrise. Do you want to come? And she said, yeah, I think I want to do that, mommy. That sounds fun. Maybe I'm just emotional about that, of just she's a mini me and I was a mini mom. History repeats itself. And so I'm excited to be able to do that with her today and just be in the spirit and feel my mom's presence. I hope that everyone has a wonderful Easter if you celebrate. It's spring. It's a time of year where there's new life. And I think that's something that was really important about those 2 years with my friends. They both had their babies with them. And now we have our little bambino with us, a 15-month-old and a 4.5-year-old. It's that new life that comes and new generation, and it's honoring our past and then creating new memories with our loved ones who are still here. But no, it's not easy, and you still miss your loved ones. I'm with you. I fully get it. As you see today, I'm still processing it. Grief just comes at really bizarre times. One thing that I wanted to share with you is sometimes grief can make you feel like you're blocked and that there's no joy in life. It's really hard to move forward sometimes. And even to think about, what does life after death look like? Life after losing someone. You can feel like all of the joy has been sucked out of your body. And if you're there right now, I'm with you. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but it's okay to stay in the dark and really feel the darkness. And that's where, when you emerge on the other side, you are a different person and you have this lived experience that is unique and it makes you stronger, even though sometimes it doesn't feel that way. One thing that, I've been thinking about since mom died is, how do I move forward, and how do I show up for my family, and how do I continue being creative but in a special way? And so that's why as part of my grieving journey, is I love sharing stories about mom. And you'll hear throughout these episodes on the podcast of, we are sharing stories all the time about our loved ones. And they love it because their names are still buzzing around. And we love it because it brings back funny memories, right? Or just really heartfelt memories, like waking up at the crack of dawn and going to sing on a mountainside with our neighbors and have hot chocolate and donuts. And so I am embarking on this journey of Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. And someone told me the other day that it was making a comeback. And I said, oh, cool. That's awesome. I've never been trendy. So I guess we're trendy now. So if anyone has ever heard of it, Julia Cameron is an author and she helps people kind of move through their whatever is blocking them. And I thought, oh my gosh, how perfect. In this grief community, we are all fully living in, or maybe we're pretending it's not there, but our grief. And so by helping and learning some tools to unblock, we're able to continue moving through life, but with more intention and with more joy. So, the artist's way is a spiritual path to higher creativity. And part of it is writing morning pages. So, you write 3 pages in your journal in the morning. And then once a week, you have an artist date where you play. And I'm super excited to go through this journey with a group of women. And we've all expressed interest in writing memoirs. And so I can't wait to share with this community just the delight and the excitement that we come up with each week. It's a 12-week program. And so we kick it off this week. Really, grieving is all about being in community and sharing stories. And so, what better time to channel creativity, be in community with one another, and also experiment with different types of what does creativity look like? Is that dancing? Is that singing? Is that making pottery? Is that throwing clay on the wheel? Is that painting with acrylics or oil or watercolor? Mom loved painting on plein air. Is that doing dot paintings or cutting out things and gluing them together with my daughter? There's just so many fun ways to channel your energy. Maybe it's, playing with Play-Doh, or collecting things from nature and creating a little sculpture out of nature. I urge you this week, if you're feeling stuck or anything, think, okay, is there an element of play that I can introduce to the day? And I was at book club this week and I was talking about how, as adults, we don't play enough. I asked, how many hours a day do you play as an adult? One of the book club members is semi-retired. So she works a couple days a week. And she goes, oh, wow. Well, I spend at least 4 hours a day feeling joyful. And I was like, that's incredible. And she got into card making. And so she's embossing and aqua tinting and doing all of these really cool things with card making. And I thought, that's so neat. I've never thought about making cards with this special machine that she has. And so, the world is your oyster. And if you think about it, just go do it. Go try it. Try something new. You never know how it'll brighten your day. And so thank you for listening to my monologue and for going through the depths of fighting the fight and feeling like mom lost. We all lost mom, and listeners have lost their loved ones or are in the process of. And instead of having it a battle, I always like to think of it as a dance. So you're dancing with death and you're dancing with the other side. And how can we come through that and think about that in a positive way? It's hard, but I think about mom and how much joy she has now being able to see our family and see what we've accomplished and where we're going, right? I feel that presence with me always. And so I'm hoping that for those of you that enjoyed Easter sunrise service, I hope it was wonderful. And if you haven't tried it, you've got 365 days to think about it and maybe do it next year if that might strike your fancy. It's just fun. And one of my colleagues is in Florida and she said, it's incredible doing sunrise service on the beach. And I thought, awesome. Love that. Wherever you are, I love traveling. When we're traveling on Easter, I always look up where's the sunrise service because it just brings together such beautiful connection and joy and music. And we're all dancing to the beat of our own drums, but it's nice to come together for sunrise service. And there's something so peaceful about that quiet as the sun pops over this horizon and it's a new day, right? The sun is always darkest before dawn, and that's something that a girlfriend texted me right before mom died. And it's so true. And then once she passed, the sun came up and it was a new day and the flowers were blooming. So, mm. Okay, everyone. Well, I'm wishing you a beautiful Easter Sunday. And if you want to join the Artists Collective, the Artists Way, and do morning pages, an artist's date once a week, and we get together on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time via Zoom. We are across different time zones, so that was the one that worked the best for us. But we also have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group. So if you wanted to join, just feel free to DM me. You are welcome. Please share in that creativity. And I am wishing you all a wonderful week ahead. Thank you so much for listening. And if this resonated with you, please share it with someone else. Sending my best. Bye bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. It would be such a gift if you could share this episode with someone and brighten their day. You never know what will happen. Subscribe to get a weekly dose of positivity, and while you're at it, please leave a review. May you be kind to yourself in the week ahead and give yourself grace. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.